We hear it all the time. I think I'm just going to rent. And look, we get it. The real estate market has seen unprecedented growth over the past 2 years. You've got historically low supply, super high demand, which results in bidding wars, and the cherry on top is rising interest rates right now. Renting does sound like a good solution. Ride the wave out, right? Well, not so fast. Hi, I'm Sarah Maslowski with KeyPoint Homes Group, and our team of Metro Atlanta area agents help people from all over relocate to Georgia. And the quandary of renting versus buying is one we help our clients take a look at all the time. So let's take a closer look at renting versus buying in Georgia. I hate to break it to you, but not only are home prices seeing historic year-over-year growth in prices, but so are rental rates. According to CoreLogic, rental prices have jumped an average of almost 13% year over year compared to home prices in the Metro Atlanta area, which have risen anywhere between 15 to 20% year over year. Historically, it's always been cheaper to own a home than it is to rent. And while that still mostly remains true, with rising interest rates that we are experiencing right now, the affordability gap is narrowing between those two, between renting and buying. So according to the data company Adam, owning the median price home is more affordable than the average rent on a 3-bedroom home in 58% of the country, according to their January numbers. So what are the average rent prices for a 3-bedroom home or apartment here in the Metro Atlanta area? Let's look at Zumper, a leading rental website. So according to Zumper, the average price of a 3-bedroom apartment in Alpharetta is $2,300. That is up 16% year over year. When you look at single-family homes or townhomes, that price is up even more. That average price is around $2,500 when you look at what's currently listed in our MLS system. So we all know from previous videos, if you've researched anything about Alpharetta, that Alpharetta has a very strong housing market and prices tend to be expensive. People pay a premium to live there. So let's hop over and look at Gainesville. The average price of a 3-bedroom apartment in Gainesville is almost $1,900, and that is up a staggering 26% year over year. So when we look at 3-bedroom homes in Gainesville, that's about the same price. But what you can see the difference is townhomes and single-family homes, they're very, very limited. The availability of those, there's not a whole lot out there. So if you think you're gonna have an easy time finding a single family home, if that's what you're looking for versus an apartment, that's gonna be a little bit tougher. So how do you decide which is the right move for you and your family? First, before you consider buying, you need to think about how long you're gonna be where you are wanting to live. And not necessarily in that house, but meaning like in that area. You also need to kind of think about like what stage of your life are you in? Are the kids about to be out of the house and you're not going to need that much space, or vice versa? Are you about to welcome a bunch of children or foster a bunch of children and you need more space? Are you looking to settle down somewhere for a while, or will you be moving in a couple of years? Those are things you need to take into consideration. So if you're going to be in the same area for the next, say, 3 to 5 years, buying may be an excellent choice. But if you're only going to be there for like a year or two, then it might not make much sense to buy a house. So historically, your monthly payment for your home may be cheaper than rent, but that's not taking into account the upfront costs you're going to need to purchase your home. Those include your down payment, closing costs, moving expenses. You can budget at least 3.5% for your down payment, and you can add another 3% of the purchase price on top of that for closing cost. Now, this does not include, I'm gonna put an asterisk here for you, the current market that we're in. It does not include perhaps additional funds that you're going to need to perhaps to be competitive and win a home in this strong competitive market that we're in at the time of filming this video. You can check out this video that I made, which covers this entire situation in a much more in-depth conversation. In addition to that down payment and closing costs, you're also going to need to be prepared for repairs for your new home that you're now the homeowner of. You can't call the landlord anymore to fix the broken air conditioner or the roof leak or the lamp or light that won't turn on if something's wrong with the electricity. That is now on you. So that's another expense and factor that you're going to want to take into consideration when buying a home. All right, so you're saying, okay, I got it, those things don't matter. If down payment and closing costs are not a bother or worry to you, you have that saved up, Another benefit in the home buying column are going to be the tax benefits. One of the main benefits is the mortgage interest deduction. So this allows homeowners to deduct the interest paid on a mortgage from their taxes, and that's just one of the tax benefits. But I hear this all the time. But Sarah, I'm waiting for the market to crash like it did in 2008. And I feel like I'm a broken record at this point, but I plan to wait a really long time. The reality is that the situation is drastically different than what it was in 2007-8. The reality is that from 2010 to 2020, the number of households in the US increased by 10 million as millennials entered their 20s and 30s. Yet we only built 6 to 9 million homes, like new homes were constructed. On top of this, you have 200,000 homes that are demolished each year because they're uninhabitable. We don't have this real estate bubble waiting to pop. We simply don't have enough homes yet to match the growing population, which means demand is not slowing down anytime soon. So let's go back and look at some math. Let's say you're renting in Gainesville paying $1,800 a month. You're committed to doing this for the next 3 years. That's a total of almost $65,000 that you spent waiting to time the market or for the market to crash. That's close to $65,000 that you're never getting back. In that time, you could be building equity in your own home, and that's not even factoring in the annual appreciation for rental rates, which are expected to rise on average 7% over the next several years, year over year. That rental payment is going to continue to increase and increase and increase, whereas your mortgage payment stays the same. Couple that with the fact that home prices are expected to return to normal appreciation levels, around 5% over the next several years. Not a decrease. Do you hear that? Not a decrease. You could find yourself no longer able to afford the home you were wanting while waiting for the market to crash. Now, I'm not trying to be an alarmist, but we are seeing this with local home buyers who chose not to buy for reasons over the past couple of years. I've personally had clients that have gone into rental homes and said that they're just going to wait it out and they're going to rent. And they're trying to return to the market now. They see interest rates rising and they see the home prices rising and they're like, oh, bleep, we need to find a home. We're just throwing money away renting while we're waiting for this thing to happen. And what these clients are finding is that they can no longer afford what they truly want, what they originally wanted. And some of these clients are having a really hard time facing the reality that they're gonna have to adjust their needs and their wants on what their dream home is, because that's now far outside of their price point with what has happened with home prices over the past couple of years. So when does it make sense to rent? When you are only going to be in an area for a short period of time, that's a time when it makes sense that you're going to rent. Another time period would be as if you're waiting on something else to happen. Let's say you're moving to a town before your spouse is coming or before the kids are coming and your needs are going to change. That might be a good scenario when you're probably going to want to rent before you buy. Another time when we coach clients into a rental decision is if waiting a year or two could significantly improve your credit score or debt to income ratio. Sometimes your affordability can jump a lot higher if your debt to income ratio is much lower, so paying off a car, student loans, working through some of those type of things. There are some scenarios where improving your credit score is going to make a dramatic result in your affordability, so waiting will make sense, especially if waiting is going to have you be able to qualify for a lot more house and a lower mortgage rate. Another thing that you might want to consider is that renting may be a good option if there are very, very few homes available where you want to live and there's no other viable alternatives. So a lot of times when we have clients that have a very finite budget, we often explore other areas that they may not have considered before or may not have been on their radar that is much more affordable to them, and while it may add 10 minutes to their commute, they get to be homeowners versus renting. And finally, it may make sense to continue to wait, if you can't find any alternatives and that you are willing to wait a year or two to wait until that magical unicorn pops up in the area that you have to be in. That is something that might be worth waiting for. And keep in mind that even though you're going to wait, you will pay more in the future for that home, and there is a strong likelihood that the interest rate is going to be a lot higher as well. So if you're considering making a move, don't forget to reach out to our team so that we can help you strategize the best plan for you. We help clients all the time kind of talk through the pros and cons on what your situation is. At the end of the day, you have to make the best decision for you and your family, whether that's renting or buying. In the meantime, make sure you check out these videos for more information on the Metro Atlanta area.